Hey everyone, and welcome to another late edition of Homebrew Wednesday. Down at the brewery today, and right now I'm working on rebrewing the fat tire that got messed up a couple weeks ago because of my power outage. Just bumped the PID up for the pump on there for the mash tun up to 152 for my saccharification rest. That'll be a 15-minute rise, and then it'll sit for 14 minutes, and then we'll go to sparging out. Already did a 30-minute protein rest. Everything's looking good, coming along real nice. And luckily, we don't have any weather moving into the area, so hopefully we won't lose any power this week. I don't know if it's hard to hear me or not, trying something different with the camera. I just use my phone, so it's sitting a little ways away from me. I don't have a beer yet. I'm trying to get this done as much as I can, plus some other projects I've been working on around the house. Went out of town yesterday, so I'm just trying to get some things done here. But we got that going. I'm going to get working on the Keezer here in a little bit. That way I can get the cream ale into keg and hopefully get it chilled down and carbonated. I haven't checked on it in about over a week now, so I'm going to check on that here also at some point tonight. And see how that's looking and possibly put it in a keg. Let's see what else. With this batch, I'm going to do something different. I am going to do a no-chill, which we all know about, but a lot of people have a concern about doing a no-chill in the plastic cubes or in their fermenters and things like that. And also I don't have the room to take up a fermenter. So what I've been thinking is doing a no-chill in a corny keg. Now, I know there's shrinkage and the corny keg's sealed once you do, if you do everything properly. And one of the big concerns people have is collapsing their kegs or sucking the top down and losing the seal and exposing the wort to oxygen and things like that. So doing a little research, I found people will seal up their corny kegs, they'll purge it with CO2. 5 gallons of wort just about comes up near the top, almost the very top. So what I'm going to do, I do have 5.5 gallons, so part of that I'm actually going to use as my starter, my yeast starter. So I'm actually using the wort that that is going to be the beer as my yeast starter. So what I'll do is I will fill up the corny keg with hot wort right off the boil. I'll seal it up and I'll put CO2 pressure on it, probably about 4 or 5 pounds of CO2 pressure. That way, as the wort cools and starts to get your cool shrinkage, it doesn't have a loss of negative, or there's not a negative pressure on the corny keg, so there's no chance of collapsing it or any of the concerns that you may have with that. Because with the cubes, you know, they compress down as it cools. So I'm going to put about 4 to 5 pounds, I think, is what I'm going to do, CO2 pressure on there. So as it shrinks down, it'll let CO2 in and to fill in that negative void to keep positive pressure on the corny keg. And then the other half gallon I'm going to use as my yeast starter. I'll just put it in my demijohn, take it upstairs, cool it off in the sink, just in an ice bath. And then I'll put my yeast in there and let that sit until tomorrow, and then we'll pitch it off. But anyway, we're going to finish the brew day. We're going to do some more brewing here. We're just getting started. We're only about an hour, 30 minutes, hour and a half into the process. And I'm not going to film all of it, but once we get to the end, I'll show you what I'm going to do with the no-chill, and we'll also take a look at the progress on the Keezer. Anyways, we'll talk to you later. Yeah, I know this might be a little hard to see, but look at that color. It's looking real nice, and it'll only get a little bit darker as we go. It's going to be a tasty, tasty brew. Yep. Everyone, we're still brewing away, obviously, as you can tell. But I got a spare moment here. I've been saying I was going to talk about different brewing salts and what we use them for. First off, just starting off with general, I use Beersmith's water software tool. You need to find some kind of tool to help you figure out what you need. And what you do with that is you plug in your water profile, your base water profile. I use Detroit City Water's profile. The city I live in, my water comes from the Detroit Waterworks. So we get the water from there. And it's a relatively basic water. It's not too hard, you know, it's not soft. It's really versatile. I can do a lot with this water as far as adding salts to get me different characters that I'm looking for. So it's kind of nice if you have a real basic water profile like what I have. Some areas also, as far as water, when you're brewing, different cities might use water from a reservoir one day, surface water. They could pull it from different areas, so you may have changing water, and will make it a little bit harder. Depending on where the water's coming from. Sometimes it's seasonal, sometimes it's just based on how much rain, and they kind of keep track of that. Your city does, and they change, but you won't even notice. But anyway, my water all comes from one area. It's it's been the same for years, fairly consistency. So that makes it real easy as far as water adjustments. I have my base profile in there, and then for this beer, I'm using Edinburgh, Scotland water, or that's what I built, I should say. It's not from there, but I built it. So all I did with Beersmith, I plugged in my base information, and I pull it up, but I don't have my computer down here. I have my base information saved in there, and then what I do is I go to the Edinburgh profile, and I put, and what I'm saying is, I have this water, I want to get to here, which salts do I need to add? And Beersmith automatically figures it out, and there's several other tools out there as well that'll help you do that. The reason we want to do this, it really depends. It's not a huge deal. If your water's good enough to drink, it's probably good enough to brew. But if you're doing competitions, the difference between a 30-point beer and a 40-point beer, as far as judging goes, comes down to your water. So yeah, if you're not planning on doing a whole lot of competing or competitions like that, it may not be a big deal to you to worry about it. If you want to start getting into competitions and you want to really improve your brewing to go from a good beer to a great beer, so to speak, you're going to want to start messing with water chemistry and learning it a little bit. My water, to go from what it is up to the Edinburgh, Scotland water, requires a lot of gypsum, and that's the first salt we're going to talk about today. I have gypsum right here. They have some information on there, but I don't go by that. I weigh all my stuff, and one of the other important things that I forgot to mention is basically you need a nice gram scale. To put it simply, if your scale's good enough to measure cocaine, you can measure brewing salts. So anyway, I have a really nice gram scale. I got it off Amazon. They run anywhere from 15 to 20 bucks, not overly expensive. They're fairly cheap. It might even be less than that, and I can't remember off the top of my head. But they work great for measuring hops, salts, small quantities. I actually grabbed mine real quick. This is the scale I have. It's by AWS. I got it on Amazon. All you got to do is search gram scales, and this one's like the number one on there. Real simple, small little measuring plate, nice backlit screen. We'll turn it on here, and it boots up and everything. And it works great. It measures grams, ounces. Let me see, what else do we have? Yeah. So we got grams, ounces, grains, and carats, and I think those are the four it measures. Works great. This is all you need. I think, I really want to say I paid like maybe $15 for it, and I just got it with some other things, so I ended up having free shipping on the whole deal. But anyway, back to the gypsum. Sorry, got sidetracked there. What gypsum does is it increases the hardness of our water, and the reason we may want to do that is because we're brewing a malty beer. This is the Fat Tire clone that I have, the recipe I have, and I've been working on fine-tuning for a while now. And it's a malty beer with a very low hop profile. That's why I'm using the Edinburgh, Scotland water profile, which requires, or for my water, to bring it up to that, calls for a lot of gypsum. And that's going to increase the hardness of my water. It's also going to manipulate the pH. I believe gypsum brings the pH up. It's a pH increaser. And the whole idea is we want to get a combination of salts to bring our pH right around 5.2 for the mash. I don't have a pH meter, so I don't check it. I have faith, though. I haven't had any problems so far. But I'm increasing the hardness, which is going to help increase the malt character and the malt flavors coming out of the beer. Adding different salts will increase hop profile. IPAs use a completely different water strain, and Pilsners use a really soft water, such as Milwaukee water. You got you got Pilsner, Czech Pils, you got German water, all work fairly well for that. So really, if you want to increase the different flavors of your beer, depending on what you're looking for, you're going to use a different water profile, and it's all going to call for different salts. But gypsum, that's one of the important ones. You'll use that quite often. Helps bring out the malt character, and it helps with the pH of the beer. I hope this is helpful. If you want more information, a book I recommend, I know it has a lot of basic brewing information for starters, but it's good for everyone. Everyone from brewing their first batch all the way up to their 100th, 200th all grain is How to Brew by John Palmer. He's got a lot of water information in there. I've got it. I went and bought it. It's a great book. You know, some of it's a little slow when you're into all grain, and you can skip through those parts. He has it broken up into sections. And I think you can also read it for free on his website. But it's just easier to have it right there in hand. But it's a good book. And hey, if you want to start increasing or making it more complex, or just getting more involved with how your water is and what you're asking of your beer to taste like, get into brewing. Get into brewing salts. Hopefully next Wednesday I'll have a different salt for you. We'll see what happens. But I plan on talking about all of them, what they do a little bit, and what we use them for. I'm going to finish up this brew day, and I'm sorry this video is going to be a little long. It's looking like it'll probably be a 15-minute video, or 15-minute video. So I'll try and keep the end short, but cheers and happy Homebrew Wednesday. Right here we got just a quick little shot of the cornbread and fed cream ale. It's going into the keg right now. The final gravity was 1.008. It's quite dry. Just smelling it, it's still got a little, I don't know if it's the sulfur, it could just be me too. I'm not a huge fan of lighter beers like this. I think it's got some work to do, but I'm thinking I might have to CO2 scrub it a little bit just to try and, there's some aftertaste in there I'm not sure about. Could be because I didn't boil it long enough, who knows. This is the first time brewing it, so it's got some work to do, but we'll get it there. But there it is, nice and clear. And we're going to keep working on it, and hopefully we'll get this one, all the kinks worked out, and it'll be a good beer by the time it's done. Cheers. Alright, so I'm going to make this last little part quick, because you've seen enough already. We're just finishing up on the boil. I got a few more minutes left here, so I'm going to try and get this done before my phone starts beeping. All I'm going to do is a no-chill, and I'm going to take it right off the spigot there into a corny keg. I'll seal the keg up, purge all the oxygen out with CO2. I got my canister over here, and once I do that, I'm just going to hook up the keg to the inline with about, I think I said 3 to 5 psi, 4 to 5 psi. So when it cools off overnight and into tomorrow, that it doesn't collapse the keg and we don't get negative pressure. Part of the wort I'm going to take and I'm going to put into this demijohn down here, and I'll go up and I'll get that cooled off hopefully fairly quickly. And with that I'm going to just pitch my yeast in there, and that'll be my starter. So that's the end of the brew day for me. I'm going to wrap it up. We'll pitch yeast tomorrow, and next week we'll have an update as to how the brew's coming along. Cheers, and happy Homebrew Wednesday, everybody.